Our next paper is going to be handled by the very best we have in the industry. I tell you, I was looking at the organization of this conference and I was thinking, wait a minute, how do you manage to have all these connections? From government to the very best in the industry. I was talking to Dr. Nelson Kuria and telling him, we've been with him for like 4 or 5 conferences now. In various industry and capacity. And he keeps growing younger by the day. Then he kept telling me it's about just a good routine, lots of water, working hard, and just being amazing at what you do. And I said, that is the routine I'm going to follow. So after this, the next conference, I'll be having cubes. Ice cubes, probably. Now, we are going to have an opportunity to welcome Mr.Aggrey Mulumbi, the MD and Principal Officer, KCB Bancassurance. He's going to take us through the handling of repositioning the insurance professionals. And this paper will be dealt with by Dr. Nelson Kuria OGW, the chairman, CIC Group. You see, by having that OGW title, very well, it means he has shaken the hand of the president multiple times as he receives these awards. And of course, Professor Nicholas K.Letting, the chairman, APSEA, they will be able to deliver a wonderful conversation on repositioning the insurance professionals. It is now my pleasure and privilege to welcome Mr.Aggrey Mulumbi, the MD and Principal Officer, KCB Bancassurance, to lead us through this conversation even as we proceed. A round of applause for Mr.Aggrey Mulumbi even as he takes over the floor for this conversation. Much welcome.
Asante sana. As we were going through the sign language, I just realized that that's another skill we need to acquire because people are enabled differently. So I was slow to learn, and now it's my chance to learn. The context of the discussions today have variously touched on technology, data analytics, taxes, and inside tomorrow, we've not looked at the people and leadership. So the paper we are going to look at is repositioning insurance professionals. Presumably, this is about yourselves, but we also will try to look at a different context. Allow me to mention a few things about the speakers. Professor Nicholas K.Letting, very distinguished and eminent personality, a professional, PhD, EBS, Elder of the Burning Spear, currently Chief Executive Officer and CEO of Kenya Accountants and Secretaries National Examination Board, KASNEB. I will not really read his whole profile, but I'll draw your attention to the fact that he's a member of Council and Board of ISPAC, ICS, ICIFA, and PSASB. He chairs various committees, and in May 2023 was elected chairman of the Association of Professional Societies of East Africa. And who is better to be a principal speaker on this paper than Professor K.Letting, just noting his role as the chair of Association of Professionals. Welcome on stage, Professor Nicholas K.Letting. As he comes, I'll briefly speak about the next eminent person, and I'll welcome Dr. Nelson Kuria to join me on stage. Started his career in development finance before joining the insurance industry in 1982. Some of us in this room were probably born by that time or before. So you can start looking at your ages in the context of before or after 1982. He worked in CIC till his retirement. A crowning moment for him was the transformation of what was previously known as CIS into CIC, a megamorph insurance entity in this country, and the aspect of leadership that I'll expect him to bring out and professionalism in this discussion is that innovation and ability to transform. So transformation, innovation in leadership, and developing ourselves as professionals. So I will prefer to stay on the up here as we drive this discussion, and I'll just throw the first question to Dr. Nelson Kuria. We did discuss this a little earlier, and the Insurance Institute is talking about repositioning the insurance professional. But we also did touch on, is it really the professional we're looking to reposition, or is it professionalism? What's your take?
Yeah, thank you, Aggrey, and a very good afternoon to all of us attending this afternoon. I have been asked to talk about the issue of repositioning the professionals in the insurance industry versus professionalism. And I want to put it to us that the moment you embrace professionalism, it goes without saying that you will reposition yourself as a professional. So the critical thing is to embrace professionalism, which goes with certain ethical values, conduct, and which is, and those are accepted within not only the industry, but in the wider financial services sector, where trust is the currency of business. So you must be able to inspire trust and confidence from the professionalism that you exhibit in the operations, the way you handle your business, the way you handle your colleagues, the way you handle your customers and all other stakeholders.
Thank you, Dr. So clearly it is the practice of professionalism that will elevate the insurance professional to what we are looking at, which is our stake in the society. But if I may go to Prof. Contextually, what is professionalism? How does it apply to insurance? And given your vast experience and role that you're playing in association of the professional associations in East Africa, and in the accounting segment, you may also just enlighten us on what is happening in the accounting world. We find that they gain more respect and trust than we ever do in insurance.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity and the questions that have come through. Maybe before I delve into the questions or responding to them, allow me to make a brief introduction. I think as I sit here, I sit as chairman of the Association of Professional Societies of East Africa, where I represent over 30 professional bodies that include ISPAC, ICS, IK is one of them, among several others in various sectors like built environment, business environment, the medical side, and all those sectors. So as we speak today, professionalism is a paid-up occupation where people take time to qualify through an examination process. So insurance is an occupation, is a profession, which is earned after rigorous scholarly work. People go to school and they study various courses, including insurance. In my opinion, my considered opinion, we have scholars who have gone to school and they have studied widely in the area of insurance as a specialization. I have the privilege of having studied at the University of Nairobi. I did a BCom degree, and while I was doing BCom, I pursued marketing option, but there are colleagues of mine who pursued insurance. And in our class, the majority of us were doing marketing class, and some other people were doing accounting and finance, and other people were doing insurance. I must confess, the people who were doing insurance were very few. I later on learned that they should have been more than even the marketers. Because as marketers, we were noisemakers. We used to be called hawkers. We used to hawk anything. And the accountants, of course, they are number crunchers and all those kind of things. So coming back to the question, I think for me, the insurance profession has not been well understood by even the students. And that's why in universities, not many institutions are offering insurance as an option for people who want to pursue that area. Because yet again, and that could be the reason why it's explaining the penetration ratio or rate in Kenya today. I have been informed by my senior, whom I respect a lot, Nelson Kuria, there's barely not more than 2.5% in Kenya. While in South Africa, in Africa, and some other parts of the world, you notice that the penetration rate is higher than that. So for me, coming to this conference, and I must congratulate the leadership of the conference. I met Alice, your director, somewhere, and she was very keen to make me attend this conference. And I must confess, as late as the day before yesterday, I was not going to come. But when I remembered Alice and my friends, including George, who was my senior in the university, and many other friends of the institute, and of course my body where I belong, I thought I should come and make some comments here. So allow me to say this. This insurance sector is an occupation that has a lot of honor and respect. And I can dare say in this forum that it is an area that we really need to do a lot of work. As a chairman of APSEA, we are going to continue to support and partner with the IAK because there's a bill that's already in place and we support our bodies. Today, I was supposed to be part of the team in Nairobi, which is presenting a paper on pharmaceutical societies of Kenya. I think I left that to someone to run with it. The Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya has raised a concern on an act of parliament that is a bill that is before parliament, which is going to affect the way we set up pharmaceutical farms in Kenya. The same spirit in the institute, in the insurance sector, we are going to also support our member, IIK. IIK, the Insurance Institute of Kenya, is a member of the APSEA. And therefore, I want to commit in this conference session here that we'll work together with IIK to make sure that the voice of the insurance sector is heard and considered as part of the lawmaking in Kenya, the process of lawmaking, because it has a long-term implication on how insurance is perceived in our nation.
Thank you, Prof. And I did ask you just to comment on professionalism in ISPAC, because we find that accountants tend to earn more respect. If you just escalate this to board levels, quite a few insurance industry CEOs have come from the accounting profession, and those who have qualified as insurers tend to grumble that why do we have professionals from other lines leading our business?
I think I almost forgot that one. I think I'm also a member of ISPAC and a council member. And one of the things ISPAC has done from 1978, maybe let's go back, because I'm also the CEO of KCB. In 1969, KCB was established as a state corporation within the National Treasury. Fast forward another about 10 years later on, a bill was established and an act of parliament was enacted in 1977-78, establishing what is called the Accountants Act of 1978. In that Accountants Act, there is provision for a coexistence of KCB as an examiner and the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya as the membership regulatory body that regulates its members. So ISPAC, like many other professional bodies, have code of conduct, code of ethics for its members, and a sector for disciplinary measures, so that if our member of ISPAC is in good standing, they pay their subscriptions, they attend conferences, then they are in good standing. They are perceived to be in good standing. At the same time, it is expected that they do not do anything that is unethical, like maybe doing something that the members will make noise about, or their clients. In the same spirit, then, so I have seen ISPAC grow from 1978 up to now, and it has a higher membership growing. ISPAC has about over 30,000 members who are registered as members of ISPAC. Although in CASNEP, we have produced over 50,000 graduates. Some of them are also here. You mentioned about the space of insurance being taken by accountants. One of them is Julius Kimgetich. Dr. Kimgetich, who spoke earlier, is an accountant. He's trained accountant, is a BCom holder, and he has come over to take over Jubilee Insurance, among other people. We also have our senior, Nelson here. He's an economist, but he has also come into the insurance sector. And many, many other people. You know, one of the questions I would be asking the original insurance people, you have a role to play to claim your space. Because you shall still come there as accountants to take over your space if you don't prepare yourselves. But we want to support you. We are willing to support you. So ISPAC has this code of conduct. It has, you must comply to code of ethics. And I think that's what you need. We also have regulations. We have guidelines that are issued, practice notes that are issued from time to time. And that is a space that I would like to see in the insurance sector, where all the bodies, especially now IIK, will develop guidelines. They're already there under the Financial Services Act, the Prudential Guidelines, and all the others. What just you need to do is operationalize it so that it's able to guide your members of today and the future. But before I even forget to say something, I wanted to say that I had the privilege to sit on the council of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. From 2011 to 2019, we are the ones who came up with together with, of course, the leadership of Cabinet Secretary Matiang'i, Mago, and others, we came up with a competence-based curriculum. One of the things that I really insisted that should be there is financial literacy, which we wanted to now bring in all aspects of finance. That is insurance, accounting, anything to do with finance, financial services. So I'd like to appeal to this, our body here, that go back to that CBC curriculum and see how you can make sure that insurance, even if it's going to be a topic in grade 1 or 4 or 12 or university, so that now everybody knows about insurance. And so when you go there, I know one of the strengths I've seen about insurance, and I'm cutting short my discussion so that Nelson also can say something. One thing I like about insurance people is that they persist. They are persistent. One time there's this agent who came to recruit me to take a policy. So, because she had come several times, I just told her, can you come in the next 4 years? So she took note and said, next 4 years will be on which date? So she tried a bit to say next year. How is next year? I told her, no, just next 4 years from now. But she came after 4 years. And I had no option. I had to take the policy. So I like that persistence of the insurance people. If you can do the same thing in all that you do, I can assure you will be able to go far. Thank you.
Right. I'll steer us in a slightly different direction. And Nelson, you probably were not here yesterday, but one thing I've heard us talk about professionals and invited speakers has been trust, yeah? And we stand and confess that we are not trusted, we lack credibility. Is it an aspect of our corporate governance in the insurance industry that puts us in a situation where we feel we are not trusted and we are not able to earn that trust? And how do you think we can enhance our corporate governance and create relevance, improve our perception?
Well, thank you. That's $1 million question. And I want to start from a general perception of the insurance industry and the way it is viewed by people. And I will give a personal experience. I'm a born-again Christian. I fellowship in CITAM. One time we had a meeting of men fellowship in Gong. That time I was staying in Gong, and one of my friends who was also in the same fellowship, he is a valuer. He told me, Nelson, you know, when I knew that you are from insurance, I could never believe that you could be saved properly like me or like any other person. Because we don't trust insurance people. So it has taken me a long time. I've been agonizing whether to trust you or not. That is somebody confessing to me, and somebody we have been together in church, but because of the general perception of the industry, he has brought that to bear in my own person, and actually doubts my integrity when I say that, you know, I'm a follower of Christ, I'm a believer. That is how bad it is. But the problem is that instead of us improving the situation, we reinforce the same through our own behavior. And the reason comes from the way we do business. I say the rationale of business is outside the business. That is, we establish business because we have to meet certain customer needs from our customers. But the way we do business in insurance is like business is for our own sake. We are more product-oriented than customer-oriented. And therefore, there is a disconnect in terms of the way we are perceived in terms of meeting, first of all, meeting people's needs. And then when it comes to a claim, that is where the rubber meets the tarmac, and that's where we lose it out. And even starting from the underwriting stage, the way we handle our customers is a little insensitive. The way we ask for information, we do not make it in such a manner that people feel that they need to give that information. Actually, they think that it is cumbersome, some of it is unnecessary, and therefore we are actually putting them through torture. Then when it comes to servicing, you find that in many instances, we do not follow up with what we call after-sales service, particularly what we see in other industry, after-sales service, that you keep contact with the customer on a continuous basis. But the worst of all comes at the time of a claim, when somebody is anxious, when they feel down because they have lost a motor vehicle or something has happened. Instead of being empathetic, the way we ask for the information is such that they feel unappreciated, they feel intimidated, and they actually do not look forward to come to an insurance company. And therefore, there is a lot that we need to do. One, people feel like when they come to claim, we already treat them like thieves. And I think we need to change paradigm, the way we deal with the people. We need to be more sympathetic when they have come with a claim. We know they are anxious. Let them settle down and then handle them with a lot of sympathy. Of course, the fact that a number of companies have collapsed has not helped the situation. And these companies have collapsed with a lot of money from the people. And many people have lost money. And therefore, but you know, it's not only insurance companies that have failed. There are many financial institutions, including banks and other institutions that have failed. But there is some special focus on insurance companies. So people will talk about insurance companies collapsing as opposed to other businesses. So I think that means that we have to up our game in terms of governance, in terms of leadership, in terms of management of our insurance institutions, so that we disabuse people of that notion that we are not to be trusted. We disabuse them of that notion and raise the bar in terms of being trusted as stewards, people who embrace the fiduciary responsibility as directors and senior managers, and people who, as stewards, take care of people's assets and resources. So I think it is a paradigm shift that cannot be, we cannot change it on one day. It requires continuous education. It requires reinforcing the aspect of trust and being trusted at every touch. When you are dealing with a customer, from the sales, from the underwriting, from the servicing, and above all, at the claims stage, because that's where we gain or lose.
Nelson, I hear you, and it sounds like you're speaking to our inward orientation and our extremely high technical orientation. So in this governance space, I would like you to just address, and you are an insurance guru, address these governance challenges in the structure of management of insurance companies and professionalism at these levels, in terms of strategy, in terms of administrative skills, operational and the tactical levels. Are we playing at the right level? Is the leadership playing at the right level in terms of strategy, administration, operational and tactical dissections of our businesses, or we are all just focused at the operational level?
At the risk of being stoned, I will say that the insurance industry has a tendency of people remaining at the technical level and not progressing on the continuum of management to leadership and technical operational. And like you noted, I have worked in another industry, and I also sit in boards of other industries, and I have been able to discern one thing, that I think because of our historical nature, being British oriented, that's the way we started our insurance here. The way I saw it and the way people were being trained when I joined Kenya National was on the basis of apprenticeship. You know, apprenticeship is basically technical, just doing. And it so happens that many people never outgrew that level of technical and tactical operational. And that is why you find many other people in a more open kind of professions and industries. You have people growing, starting from the low level of even a bank teller to ultimately become an MD, a CEO. It has happened in banking. So in insurance, there is need to have people growing and going through that continuum of management, operational, tactical, to strategic level. And I want to underscore this with a proverb from the Chinese. They say that if you want prosperity for 1 year, you grow grain. If you want prosperity for 10 years, you grow trees. And if you want prosperity for 100 years, you grow people. So people are at the heart of sustainability of organizations. And when you are talking about sustainability, you are talking about something that is brought out by robust and transformational leadership that is operating today but casting their eyes into the future, being able to project the challenges that they are going to contend with in the future. A leadership that is agile, that is adaptive to, I came when this topic of technology was going on. So if we are still remaining with our legacy systems and technologies, when the world has moved to AI and digitization, we miss the bus. But that comes at the strategic level with the strategic thinking. And therefore, you must be able to develop and build the capacity of the people to have a big picture. We need to train our people. We need to build their capacity and mentor them. And I can say without fear of contradiction, I have a number of my disciples here, and they can attest to the fact that they grew because I had the courage to delegate to them, but I delegated and empowered them through capacity building. So they were able to, embrace higher levels of decision making. I allowed them space even to take risks and make mistakes. And that is how I had time to play at the strategic level, even sit in other boards, both local and international, because I did not remain in the office to sign a claims check. I trusted my people to sign even the biggest checks when I was out. Nobody was ever told that your claim cannot be paid because the group CEO is not there. But it goes to the very essence again of trust. There must also be trust within. You must trust your people, but you must also grow them. And I think that is where we are losing it. And then we have people from other professions coming and eating not only our breakfast, but our lunch and our dinner. So we have to style up, but the responsibility to style up also rests with the leaders. Because the leaders in the industry must give the people below them space.
And I want to pick it up from there and put it across to Prof. Prof, in the academic world, I think some of the most spoken about perspectives are in the next leadership levels, ability of a leader to lead transformation, soft skills, people management and capacity building, innovation and digitalization, and then entrepreneurship. How do you see these skills getting embedded? And maybe I'm speaking to the college as well as the IIK. How do you see a framework where we can enmesh these key skills for leadership to help our leaders in the insurance industry as receive the due recognition that they're really crying out for?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mulumbi. Agree for that very good question. I have the privilege of being both in the industry and in academia because I still have a stint in teaching in some universities at voluntary level. And I come across a number of very good people from industry who have no academic knowledge or qualifications. And there are some academicians who have no practical knowledge of the business they are running. So there is a dilemma and a dichotomy of this situation where you come across these two people who are not able to, they have the papers, but that cannot deliver. I'm sure you have come across this. Now, coming to the insurance sector, I think I saw my friend, Dr. Kajwang here somewhere. Dr. Kajwang has risen through the ranks as a scholar and practitioner in his field. I know he's running the college. I had the privilege of being the Vice Chancellor of the Management University of Africa in South Sea, near the college. And when we were trying to diversify our revenue base there, just to run away from just relying on school fees of students, I went to see Dr. Kajwang, I don't know where he's, to assist me because they were running a very good cafeteria and a lot of trainings happening in college, in the College of Insurance. So that college I learned something that we used to develop our university, and the university has been able to expand. So it talks about leadership. Leadership is about a skill, a soft skill that requires you to have courage to do something, and also to know how to deal with the people that you interact with. And it also requires you to continuously up your skills through learning, the lifelong learning. You cannot say, I qualified as, maybe I did my bachelor's so many years ago, my diploma, whatever. The College of Insurance and other training institutions have so many good courses that your professional members can be able to pursue. And I dare say that in order for and there was a question earlier on which was asked, well, I think it was Julius Kimgetich, who mentioned about the agency, the intermediaries, what is the future? There was a question that came across from here. Let me tell you that there are jobs for people who are ready to improve their skills. I can say that during COVID, we thought jobs would be lost, but there were many more new jobs that were established in COVID in 2019, in around 2020, because a number of people learned a new skill. Many people lost their jobs, I know, but during that process, there's this example I keep sharing, maybe if somebody has listened to. There's this lady who had a cousin somewhere, and because she had lost her job, she went to stay with her briefly, and during the time that she was staying with the cousin was going to work because she still had a job. So she offered to make some very nice chapati for themselves. And so the cousin would take the chapati to their place of work and share it out with their colleagues. And then the colleagues would ask her, how do you make this chapati? They said, oh, it's not me, it's my cousin. Maybe I can. So one event that led to a breakthrough for that lady who had been retrenched from another job is that through the cousin, she was asked to prepare a chapati for a wedding business, a wedding event that was happening. And that opened the opportunity so that she got so many orders thereafter that everybody says, I want her to come and do for me chapati. So I'm trying to say, insurance team members, I would like to encourage you to pursue additional knowledge in digitalization, soft skills in knowledge, how to deal with customer, learn something about customer experience. There's a training. There are so many trainings online that you can do it yourself. Some of them are free. Digitalization is the way to go. You can actually reach out to so many customers and potential customers through digitalization. You can even start a podcast where you talk about, of course, there is a limitation of you cannot advertise yourselves, but I think we have taken it too far as professionals. We can actually do something that as part of sponsorship or sponsoring something, you participate and say, you also administer the following things. And as you do that, I like what Nelson has done. Dr. Nelson has done. He supported very many people, including my own chairman of Casino Board, Dr. Nancy Muriuki. She used to work with her, and she has full of a lot of respect for Nelson, who when was the CEO at the CIC at the time, she was the corporation secretary there. So I want to encourage all of you members of the Institute of Insurance of Kenya that you pursue continuous learning. I like when you are hosting a conference like this because you are learning new things. You are networking. You are growing your knowledge base. But if you say I qualified 30 years ago, 10 years ago, and you don't go for these forums where there's continuous professional development programs or educational programs, then you will be behind. So I want to encourage you to say leadership is about being able to of the game. Read widely, be a mentor. I want to encourage your team, especially Nelson, to start a school of mentorship if you don't already have it, because the wealth of knowledge that Nelson and team have can only be shared through a school of mentorship program in the insurance sector, because that is the only way then they can be able to infuse the same knowledge to so many young people who might be groping in the dark. They don't know what profession they can pursue, but they can get a home in the insurance sector. That's my input.
So I'll go back to the integrity of the professionals and the perception around the insurance business. Most of the times when we talk insurance, we are thinking about underwriters. But at the front end are the agents. And The big question that I would like to ask, and I know the chairman is in the house, he leads an association called Association of Professional Insurance Agents. Nelson, at the front end, are insurance agents professionals in the business, and are they perceived as such? And secondly, at the tail end of the insurance value chain, you have reinsurers and the regulators. And reinsurers come up with price fixing models, risk restrictions, and oligopolistic tendencies. I think sometimes at the risk of stones being thrown at me, supported by IRA, which in my view stifle creativity and the respect for the insurance professional. Your take on professionalism of insurance agents, your take on the oligopolistic tendencies at the reinsurance place, and how can we do better in those two fronts?
Well, thank you very much. Just speaking a little from Prof, I want to tell him that I have already taken the challenge. I coach and mentor many upcoming leaders in the industry and outside the industry. And I actually took a coaching course at my own expense so that I can be a more effective coach, because I realize the people who come to me at times for mentorship, what they really need is coaching. So I deliberately invested in that as a way of giving back to the industry and to society, and I do it pro bono. I don't charge, because I feel that is part of my purpose. Now, coming to the issue of agents, like you know, that is where the industry attracts the very worst of publicity in terms of its image, because it is said, Prof gave that example of persistence, but there are times that it goes overboard, and that's why we are told our salespeople are sweet talkers, smooth talkers who can sell milk to a cow. So they are actually to be kept at bay. So if you hear an insurance agent has come to your office and you have a secretary, she tells you that so-and-so who markets insurance is here, you tell the secretary to tell him that, or her, you are not there. But the salesperson is actually hearing you saying that you are not there. So it demonstrates the kind of image that we have. That is because of the hard selling. But you know, the problem is actually not with the agents themselves. I want to put that problem squarely at the doors of the insurance companies themselves. Because these are your distributors. These are the people who are the first touch point with your customers. So if they are not capacitated, if they are not trained, if they are not empowered on a continuous basis, what do you expect? And I can say, personally, this is something that I took very seriously, and the chair of APSEA is here. He can confirm that one of the things that I took with utmost seriousness was the training of agents, even general agents. We used to put them together and take them a 2.5 days program free of charge at our own expense. Because I did recognize the importance of making and transforming the salespeople to be professional, because that is the first touch point with the insurance. If they create a negative perception, then you live with that perception. So I want to say, as much as the agents themselves have the responsibility to improve their skills through self-training, nowadays lots of training at the College of Insurance, the COP, the CIP, and even online training. I see a lot through LinkedIn that are very cheap. So I think it is a mutual kind of responsibility on the side of the agent and on the side of the underwriters to make sure that they build the capacity of their salespeople they are intermediaries because that's how they get their business. Even with the digitization, we are not, I heard about that fear. But what is happening is that whatever is being digitized, where technology comes in, there is still a touch at a higher level. So what is happening is transforming the point of touch between the customer and the agent. After they do their search online, they will still want to refer to a financial advisor for a final decision. So the role of the agent is actually goes up, and what is required is upskilling. So the issue of the cartels, because that's what oligopoly is. It is not something that is sustainable, because it goes against the grain of competitiveness and innovation. But I think this has come because the insurance companies, we ourselves, have refused to behave. We undercut ourselves to the bone. In fact, the game of underwriting price competition is a zero-sum game. We undercut ourselves to the bone. We transfer those losses to the reinsurers. So the reinsurers, the responsible business people, will have to make a decision to protect their own interests. But we are the ones who have precipitated that situation. So it comes back to us. We have to embrace professionalism, even if not already anchored in law. As leaders, as people who are doing serious business, I think our values should be able to drive us to embrace integrity and honesty so that we can be able to agree even amongst ourselves. The whole essence of collaboration, like we were told, is the currency of business. We have to be transformed from a mind of scarcity mentality, that there is little for us to share, so we have to kill each other, and think about, have an abundance mentality, because the field is actually, it's not even a blue ocean, it's a white ocean, full of opportunities if we become people that are trusted, people of integrity that can make our profession be taken that seriously and be able to be innovative by embracing technology so that we can grow the cake. Would we want to have 100% of a squirrel, or would we, and we want to have a 10% of an elephant? I think that's what addresses this aspect of the scarcity mentality versus abundance mentality.
Yeah, thank you, Nelson, and I hope the chair of APSEA now understands why I asked that question, so that we could bring out the need for support and responsibility for our image to all of us together. But finally, insurance has to be here, sustainable. It has a role to play. And there isn't a lot talked about in the insurance industry about sustainability, the ESG initiatives. Prof, over to you. How do we drive sustainability in the context of ESG in the insurance industry?
Thank you. Thank you, Session Chair. I think the concept of environmental sustainability, social governance has come, and it is very new. It's current. The discussion, the debate on that area of sustainability is current. It talks about the 3 Ps, that is the people, the profits, and the planet. Now, from where I sit as chairman of APSEA, I see all the professional bodies have a role to play or give back to society in various ways. Talk about the environment, and let's specifically focus on the insurance sector. What can the insurance team sector do on environment? There's discussion about the climate change. Do you already have an insurance policy for, I am aware that you have something for farmers who do not have their crops not yielding as it was expected, or they are destroyed by so you're already into that sector of the environmental, social governance. So you already exist there, but all you need to do is have your game so that you become more proactive, reach out to those farmers who are growing maize or whatever products that are sold in the market, so that you are part of the game. In terms of the social component of the ESG, how do you relate with the people? How do you support the needy people in society? It's about societal contribution that the insurance sector does. So there, I know you are doing some work, but you can do more through structured approach of social sustainability of your team, of your future generations. For example, and I like what Nelson is doing. If each one of you who is successful in your own way as an insurance professional and expert was to take a minimum of 10 people, 100 people whom you are supporting through pro bono support ideas, where you do not have to charge for your services of mentorship and coaching, I can tell you that you can have a critical mass of followers, of course, who are believing in the spirit of embedding trust in the transactions of business of insurance. And finally, on governance. Governance generally is about leadership and issues of governance. So my take on the issue, insurance and governance is that you need to also continuously self-develop, lifelong learning under the sector. Because as products are evolving in the insurance sector, you need to know how do you deliver those products. The global environment is dynamic. Whatever happens in that far-flung country of Ukraine and Russia is felt here in Kenya. Is there something you can do as an insurance person so as to promote sustainability of the business of insurance in Kenya? You still have a lot of work to do. So I would want to encourage you to continuously learn. There's a lot of information available now. And I'm sure the College of Insurance, you are lucky that the current CEO of the College of Insurance is the president, has just handed over as the president of Africa Insurance Organization, which is an umbrella body for 54 countries. Is there a way you can leverage on that? Use the college to do something, develop new products that you can administer, and any other thing that you do together as the insurance sector, and ensure that you can reach out to become. Kenya is known to produce people. Yesterday we were coming, when I was coming down here, we were discussing with a colleague that we were coming together in the flight, that, you go to some parts of the world, you find Kenyans there, and they're leading. In fact, they are not even required. They are not, in one of our neighboring countries, they don't like us because they say, you give them a space through the door, they may push you through the window because they come and occupy the whole building. But now, why is it like that? It's because our education system is very good. It allows you to do anything. Our language that is speaking English, we speak well and we write very well. In fact, sometimes people say Kenyans speak English better than the Queen herself or the King. And the King is coming to Kenya very soon. I think you'll be going to College of Insurance. So the idea is there a way we can be able to use this to reach out to as many people as possible through the mechanisms that we use as social media platforms? I think there is a lot of opportunity in the insurance sector, and I encourage you to grab those opportunities. Thank you.
So just before I open it to the audience, your thoughts on the fact that the insurance professionals don't seem to get presidential accolades, and Dr. Kuria, you'll comment to that because you're one of the few who seem to have some presidential accolades, quite a few to your name. And Prof, you will also comment about to other industries and statutory bodies. Is it that the contribution of the insurance professional is not acknowledged, is not visible in this country, and what do we do ultimately to stake our claim in all this? And even in diverse boards, there are many, many boards. I don't seem to see a lot of insurance professionals invited to sit in those boards.
Well, it is a very interesting question. I want to own up here that the OGW I got and MBS was actually not because of insurance. It was because of cooperatives. And because I'm passionate about cooperatives, I have led cooperatives, including CIC itself, up to the global level. And the cooperative's role is very much appreciated in transforming the lives of the people in this country. So I can tell you that it did not come because of insurance. What I got from because of insurance was within insurance that I got a Lifetime Achievement Award. And therefore, that goes to speak to how we need to raise our profile as an industry, and as a profession. Nobody is going to do it for us. They say opportunities don't run around looking for somebody to discover them. Opportunities are only available to the discerning, those that are persistent, those that exercise discipline and keep it on a continuous basis. So I think we need to raise our own profile. We need to make a lot more noise, advocate, lobby, but insurance people, we are normally shy. I see even in large conferences, like now the climate change conference that was there. I dare say, I don't know whether there was any recognizable insurance leader, but you will find many leaders who are even called from other industries, and they were even given a slot to speak. Yet, we are doing great work to empower the people, to uplift the people from poverty, because those at the bottom that we are insuring, we make sure that they do not slide back to poverty. So when you talk about ESG, we are the people who give sustainability to other businesses, but that is not recognized. So we need to do a lot in the area of governance so that we disabuse people of the notion that we are not people to be trusted. We need to build strong cultures as leaders through our governance structures, because organizational culture is what will also elevate our profile out there. We need to educate and create awareness so that people can also be giving a lot of testimony about how they have benefited from insurance. We need to have a campaign for people to testify how they have been touched by insurance companies so that we don't continue winking in the dark and expecting that our wink will be acknowledged. We must wink in the open, and we must not be shy about it as an industry.
So, Prof, participation in various boards and appointments in statutory bodies, your view?
I cannot agree with you more about this matter where, as professionals, I usually, as chairman of APSEA, I get some requests for appointments to the boards, because APSEA, as an umbrella body, has always been given a chance, even among the independent commissions, like the SRC, among others, IBC, we used to have a slot there, and other bodies. And so, but you realize that there are several professionals, especially the lawyers and the accountants. They are very keen. All the time they pass by the APSEA office and they say, is there something for us we can do for you, even on voluntary basis? I want to encourage the insurance team to do that, that you can support something, a cause that you are very passionate about, and get known for it. So you realize that lawyers have entrenched themselves in everywhere. They're everywhere. As accountants, we are also trying to follow the lawyers. We want to be everywhere. The other day, my colleagues, we as a council presented at IEBC and said, the slot that is preserved for the chair of IEBC, as a lawyer, we also want it to be open so that even us as accountants can go for it. Why don't you also ask for the same chairman of IIK, so that there is a slot for you everywhere? Because the way Nelson has said, you play a significant role in the economy of this country. And therefore, I say that for you to be appointed again, I think in Kenya, we were colonized by the British. We all know that history. there are people who are colonized by the French. Let me speak about the two colonizers. People who are colonized by French, they speak so much about something. You know, they're very passionate about, they shout a lot. Of course, I don't like the way they rule their people. They still colonize up to now in West Africa and wherever. The British taught us to be very meticulous, very soft-spoken, very procedural. I want to encourage us as professionals that we can have a blend of both. Where it requires us to be focal, let us be focal for our rights, as long as we know what we are talking about. But where we are required to be humble, as we humble ourselves, let us be humble and do the right thing at the convenience. So finally, in terms of board appointments, there are so many opportunities. There are opportunities in corporate world, there are opportunities in social environment, like the not-for-profit organizations like churches. You and Nelson is a saved man and is able to coordinate activities of a church. I am sure, I've seen also the MC, Okari, being an MC in a church that I attend, and he's doing well. He's also an insurance person. So I want to encourage us to participate in some of those activities and make a contribution on a pro bono basis, and God will definitely bless you. Thank you.
Agree. Let me add something to that. I serve in very many boards, but the reason I serve in those boards outside the industry is because of taking a personal initiative to create relationships during my career. I would want to relate even with people outside the industry. So even today, I will be serving in a university. I have never been a professor, but they invite me to serve in their board or council, even to chair. I sit as a trustee of CITAM. I sit as a trustee, as a chair of a microfinance bank. I have not been in microfinance, but because of maintaining contacts, relationships, because what people require at a certain level is not your technical qualification. What they want is your leadership skills and how you can work with them to come up with solutions for challenges that are facing them. So I dare say, insurers, you need to be out there, also outside the industry, making relationships, at times through your customers. You will be surprised that some of your customers, when you serve them well, and they will pay back one time by even taking your name somewhere. That is how my names have been taken places. I am not an influence peddler. I'm a humble man, and I can say that. But people have taken my names even where I didn't know, just because I related with them as human beings, fellow professionals, even from other industries. So relationship building and management is critical.
Just before you say something, I want to support what Nelson is saying. The issue of interpersonal relationships, effective communication, and being able to avail yourself. I've also received so many requests to be in several boards. Sometimes I decline some, but it is because of that what Nelson is saying. I support. Thank you.
Yeah, and I confirm that Nelson is, I almost called him my professor at Africa International University, where he chairs the council, but he's only the chair. So make sure I pass eventually. So, but IMC, shall I come back to you and request that if there are questions for the panelists, we may take them now.
Very well. Thank you. A big round of applause for this excellent team. Wonderful, wonderful. You've made us forget about lunch, and for that we appreciate you. So we are going to look at two questions from the audience. I was checking on the online audience. Looks like they've been following very well and they are good with presentations. If we have any burning two questions from the audience, please proceed to raise your hands. I'm just giving the first two hands and then we can wind up the session. No questions, and we are very good. That was a wonderful, wonderful one. So I'm handing it back to you to wind it up and then we can proceed.
So I'll invite the panelists to give us their closing remarks, something to take home. We did expand the scope of the topic of discussion from the professional to professionalism and where it leads you to. I hope it was beneficial to you. So let's go first. Let's start with you, Nelson.
I did talk about the centrality of people in any organization as underscored by the Chinese proverb. And I want to say that when you are a leader, you are a steward, first and foremost, of the people and their welfare. And these people need also to be treated with respect and dignity, because all of us were created in the image of God. That is my basic philosophy in leadership, and that's where all my relationship making and building starts from. Whether they are my staff, whether they are my board members, that is the beginning. Secondly, we are also, as leaders, stewards of time and opportunity. The topics that I have seen here, especially like the one of technology, if you miss the bus because you did not take timely measures as a leader, then you have failed from the point of stewardship of time. When it comes to opportunities, let us not as leaders just look at what we are doing right. It is also important to look at what we ought to be doing, but we are not doing, because that's how we are going to miss the bus. And as leaders, we know that we are the ones who lead the pace in terms of embracing opportunities, deciding which ones to take and which ones to decline. And therefore, the decisions we make can be either the cause of success of our businesses or detrimental to the well-being and the sustainability of our business. And that is why we have to up our game as leaders, knowing that we are stewards. And stewards are expected to be people of integrity, people that exhibit ethics, and people that exhibit passion, like Jim Collins said. These are people that are driven by an incurable passion to make their organization successful and to transform the lives of the people. The bottom line is, a steward must transform the lives of the people. What will you say was your legacy when you are in the insurance industry? Did you touch the lives of people? Did you impact them? Did you transform anybody, either as a staff or a client or an intermediary? That is my parting shot.
Submit. Prof.Letting.
I think after listening to Nelson, I think I have nothing else to say. Maybe what I can say is that as a professional, you need to continuously invest in your trust, building your trust, or having other people to trust you, and also continuously improve your learning. Learn something additional. I started doing law not long ago. I've done other qualifications, just to open up my mind so that I understand the space there. I'm not saying you go and do law, but one of the things you need to continuously do as a professional is to learn every day. Like today you have learned something new. Put it in practice, what you learn. So you should be this practical person, this fair person, this just person in your decision-making process. And of course, learn how to communicate and communicate to your clients in an effective manner, using any mechanism of communication, be it social media platforms or any other means like emails or WhatsApp or whatever, and mentor somebody. Have a mentorship program for yourself, your family, and your organization. I thank you.
Asante sana. That's the submission from the eminent panel, and I hope that is going to elevate us to the next level of our practice. Back to you, MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A big round of applause for this eminent panel right here. I'm so glad. You don't actually need to leave now, unless you can join them there so that we have a photo of the three of you right there. You can use the seat on that side